At family Easter lunch, my sister saved my seat for her friend and told me to stand behind. I just stopped in the doorway with a foil-wrapped tray of potatoes sweating heat into my palms, because my sister was already waving her hand like she was directing traffic. "Oh, don't sit there," Hannah said, smiling so wide you'd think she was greeting me. She had her nails done in that pale pink she always picks when she wants to look soft, and her voice had that sweet hostess tone. She nodded at the chair I'd automatically been walking toward, the one at the end of the table near Mom. A place. A normal place. Then she pointed behind her toward the narrow gap between the table and the kitchen island where people were stacking plates. "That seat's saved for Mia," she said, like it was obvious, like I should have known. "Just stand behind, okay? We're tight on space." Tight on space. At a table that somehow always has space when it's not me. The air smelled like glazed ham and hot cross buns and someone's floral perfume. My uncle's TV was on in the background, volume too loud, football commentary bleeding into the chatter. Kids were shrieking out the back, a bouncing ball thudding against the fence. Everyone was talking over everyone, forks already clinking like the meal had started without me in spirit, even if the plates weren't full yet. I felt my face go hot, not in a dramatic flush, but in that slow, humiliating burn that starts in your ears and spreads. My grip tightened around the tray. The foil crinkled. I could feel sweat under my arms, even though it wasn't hot. I looked at Mom, waiting for her to do that small, basic thing parents do, say no, she can sit here, or move over, or even just look confused enough to make Hannah backtrack. Mom was setting out napkins, not looking up, mouth pursed in concentration like napkin placement was more urgent than my existence. Dad was pouring drinks and laughing at something my uncle said. My brother was already seated, phone in hand, scrolling like he'd rather be anywhere. And Hannah just kept smiling, eyes flicking from me to the empty chair like she was daring me to challenge her. I tried to laugh, because that's what I always do when I'm being pushed. I tried to make it light, so I wouldn't be called sensitive. "Stand behind," I repeated, like it was a joke I didn't understand. "Hannah, come on." I brought the potatoes. I lifted the tray a little stupidly, like it was a ticket. Hannah's smile tightened. "Yeah, and that's nice," she said quickly, and her eyes did that thing they do when she's annoyed but trying to look pleasant. "But Mia's coming, and she gets overwhelmed around crowds. You know that. We're keeping her close to me." I opened my mouth and then shut it because I couldn't tell if I wanted to argue or cry, and both felt dangerous. Behind Hannah, her friend Mia, who I hadn't even seen yet, was apparently more important than me being allowed to sit. Hannah turned her head toward the table and called, loud and cheery, "Can someone take the potatoes?" Like I was a delivery person. Like I wasn't family. My cousin reached out and grabbed the tray from my hands without meeting my eyes. The foil was gone, the heat gone, and suddenly I didn't know what to do with my hands. I stood there, literally behind my sister like she'd asked, feeling my heart thud in my throat while the room kept moving like I wasn't stuck. It was Easter Sunday, and my family does this thing where we pretend we're wholesome. We wear nice clothes. We take photos in the backyard with the sun in everyone's eyes, so we squint and laugh. We talk about gratefulness. Mom puts a little cross-shaped decoration on the table and insists we say grace even though half the people are already chewing. It's all performance, all ritual, like if we do the same traditions every year, then nothing else counts. I've been dreading this lunch all week, not because I hate Easter or because I'm a Grinch, but because family events always have a way of quietly reminding me where I rank. Hannah is the organizer, the golden one, the one who keeps the family together. She'll tell anyone who listens that she's basically the glue. And because she's the glue, everyone forgives the way she sticks people where she wants them. Hannah is only 2 years younger than me, but she's always acted like she's older. She's always been the one who decides what's normal and what's embarrassing. When we were kids, she would help by correcting me in front of relatives, telling them I was exaggerating, telling them I was dramatic, telling them I was sensitive. When I was a teenager and started pulling away from the family, she'd lean into it like she was the spokeswoman. "She's in a mood," she'd say with a laugh if I didn't want to hug someone. "Don't take it personally." Over time, It stopped being a joke and became a script everyone repeated. Even my parents. Especially my parents. It became easier to agree with Hannah's narrative than to deal with the discomfort of admitting she was being cruel. This year I told myself I'd try again. I'd had a rough few months. Nothing dramatic, just the slow grind of being tired and feeling like I'm always behind. Work had been unstable. My rent went up. I've been seeing a therapist, which my family treats like a quirky hobby. Hannah had texted me earlier in the week, Easter at Mom and Dad's. Be there by 12. No, do you want to come? No, can you make it? Just an order. I almost replied with some excuse, but Mom had called and said, please don't make it hard. We just want one nice day. One nice day. Like my comfort is the obstacle. So I came. I stopped at the shops that morning and bought extra butter because Mom always forgets. I peeled potatoes until my fingers wrinkled. I told myself, if I show up as helpful, if I bring something, if I smile and keep my mouth shut, I can slide through without being targeted. And then I walked in and got told to stand behind. After a few seconds of standing there like an idiot, I stepped into the kitchen and hovered near the bench, trying to look busy. The kitchen was packed. People grabbing plates, kids darting through like little missiles, my aunt opening cupboards like she lived there. Hannah moved through the space like a queen, touching shoulders, directing people, laughing too loud. Every time I tried to edge toward the table, she shifted her body slightly, so I couldn't. It was subtle. It was practiced. Like she'd been doing this all my life. Mom finally looked up. Her eyes flicked to me, then away. Can you grab more cutlery? She asked like that solved it. Like I'd been assigned a task, and therefore my lack of seat was normal. My throat tightened. Mom, I said quietly, leaning closer so I wouldn't make it a public thing. Where am I sitting? Mom's mouth twitched like she didn't want to answer. She glanced at the table, at the chairs, at Hannah, then back at me. We'll work it out, she murmured, and then she turned away to pour gravy like it was urgent. We'll work it out. That phrase is poison in my family. It means, don't push. Don't embarrass us. Don't make this a thing. It means, accept whatever happens. The first plate of food hit the table, and people started sitting, and the lack of a seat became real. Chairs scraped. Kids climbed onto laps. Someone said, scoot in, and everyone complied for everyone else. No one scooted for me. I stood behind the table, close enough that I could see the steam rising off the ham, far enough that I couldn't reach anything without leaning over someone's shoulder. Hannah glanced back at me and smiled again. You okay? She asked, voice sugary. I nodded automatically. Yeah, I lied. My hands were clenched behind my back like I was at a museum tour. My uncle clapped his hands. All right, let's eat, he boomed. Mom said grace. People mumbled amen with mouths already full. Then the room turned into noise, forks, laughter, chewing, kids whining about carrots. I was still standing. Mia arrived 10 minutes later, breezing in like she was late to her own party. She had a sleek ponytail and a bright laugh, and she immediately hugged Hannah like they were long-lost sisters. Hannah squealed. You made it, she said, as if Mia's presence was the main event. Then Hannah pulled out the chair I'd been walking toward, and patted it like a throne. Sit here, she said, right next to me. Mia plopped down, smiling at everyone. Sorry, traffic, she said. No one cared. Everyone welcomed her. Dad leaned over and shook her hand like she was important. Mom offered her a drink. My brother offered her his seat for a second, like he was being polite. Everyone did the social dance for Hannah's friend. I stood behind them, invisible, watching my family show more hospitality to a guest than basic acknowledgement to me. At some point, my aunt noticed. I could see it on her face, confusion, then discomfort. Oh, she said, eyes flicking to me. Where are you sitting, love? Before I could answer, Hannah laughed. She's fine, she said quickly. She'll grab a spot when people finish. She's just, she likes hovering. She's always in the kitchen. Yster de hair. My ears rang. The audacity of rewriting reality out loud. I opened my mouth. Dad's eyes flicked toward me, warning. Mom's jaw tightened slightly. Don't start. Don't ruin this. Don't make it weird. My body did what it always does. It swallowed my words to keep peace that never includes me. I forced a smile. Yeah, I said quietly. I'm Fina. My aunt looked like she didn't believe it, but she let it drop because that's what everyone does when Hannah speaks. They let it drop. I stayed standing until my legs ached. I told myself I could just make a plate and sit on the couch. But every time I moved toward the food, Hannah's elbow somehow appeared. Careful, she'd say like I was clumsy. Don't spill on me, Or, wait, let me pass you that. Like I couldn't serve myself. It was constant, tiny, controlling. Finally, I slid into the hallway near the laundry, where it was quieter. I leaned against the wall and tried to breathe. My chest felt tight and hot. I could hear laughter in the dining room, the sound of family being family, and I felt like I was listening to a party I wasn't invited to inside my own childhood home. I pulled out my phone, not to scroll, but to ground myself. Something to look at that wasn't the table. There was a notification from my therapist's app reminding me to do a breathing exercise. I almost laughed. Of course. I heard footsteps and looked up. It was my brother, Liam, holding a plate piled high. He stopped when he saw me. "Why are you in the hallway?" he asked, mouth full. I stared at him. "Because I don't have a seat," I said. He frowned, genuinely confused, like the idea hadn't crossed his mind. "Just sit," he said, waving his fork toward the dining room. "Where?" I asked, and my voice sounded too sharp. Liam flinched slightly, then shrugged. "Hannah's just being Hannah," he said, like that was an explanation and a dismissal all at once. Something bitter rose in my throat. "Why do you all let her?" I asked. Liam sighed, the sigh of someone who wants the conversation to stop. "Because it's Easter," he said, like that was sacred. "Don't do this." I laughed, small and ugly. "So I just stand behind like a spare coat," I said. Liam looked away. He shifted his plate, uncomfortable. "Do you want half my chair?" he offered, weakly. I stared at him and felt this wave of sadness that surprised me more than anger. Because Liam isn't mean. He's just trained. Trained to go along. Trained to choose comfort over fairness. "No," I said softly. "It's fine." "It's not fine," Liam muttered, almost to himself. Then he took a bite and walked back into the dining room anyway. That was the moment something in me finally clicked into place. Not a dramatic snap. More like clarity. Like, oh, this is it. This is what it always is. And I'm the only one who keeps hoping. I waited until the noise in the dining room swelled again, until people were mid-conversation and laughing, and then I walked back in. Hannah was mid-story, telling Mia about some work drama, hands waving, everyone listening because Hannah is always the main character. Mom laughed at the right parts. Dad nodded. My uncle made a joke. My cousin's kid threw peas. I stood at the end of the table where the empty chair should have been and said, loud enough to cut through, "I'm going to go." The room stuttered. The forks paused. Conversations dipped. Mum blinked. "What?" she said. Hannah's head snapped toward me. Her smile dropped for half a second, then reappeared instantly, bright and fake. "Why?" she asked, like she couldn't imagine a reason. "Because you told me to stand behind," I thought. "Because you made me a background prop in my own family. Because everyone let you." I kept my voice calm. "I don't have a seat," I said simply. There was silence, the kind that makes your skin prickle. Mum's face flushed. "Oh my God," she hissed like I'd sworn. Hannah laughed sharp. "Are you serious?" she said. "This is what you choose to be dramatic about." Dad's eyes narrowed. "Sit down," he said quietly, like an order. "Where?" I asked, and the simplicity of it felt like a knife. Hannah rolled her eyes. "You could have grabbed a chair from the patio," she said, like I was stupid for not improvising my own existence. Mum's voice went tight, pleading and angry at the same time. "Don't do this in front of everyone," she whispered. I looked at her, really looked. "It was already in front of everyone," I said. My voice shook slightly, but I didn't apologize for it. My Aunt Tracy cleared her throat, awkward. There's chairs in the garage," she offered. Hannah's eyes flashed. "It's fine," she said quickly, like she was managing damage. She turned to Mia and put a hand on her arm. "Mia, do you mind moving your chair a little? We can squeeze." Mia looked startled, eyes wide. "Oh," she said. She glanced at me, then at Hannah. "I didn't know." "It's not your fault," I said to Mia, and I meant it. "It's not about you." Hannah's smile hardened. "Then what is it about?" she asked, voice sharp. I could feel my heart pounding. I could feel every eye on me. My body wanted to shrink, to fold, to disappear. But I was standing already. I was already visible. It's about me being treated like I don't belong, I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it sounded. It's about me standing behind for 40 minutes while everyone ate. It's about nobody noticing until I said something. Dad's face went red. You're exaggerating, he snapped. Am I? I asked, and I looked around the table. Who offered me a seat? Who asked where I was sitting before now? No one spoke. My aunt stared at her plate. My cousin looked at her kid. Liam's jaw clenched, eyes on the tablecloth. Mum's face tightened like she was holding and scream. Hannah laughed again, but it was brittle. You always do this, she said, voice rising. You always twist things to make everyone look bad. I felt my stomach clench. That phrase, twist things, was the family's favorite way to discredit me. Like my perception is a weapon, not a reality. I'm not twisting anything, I said quietly. I'm literally telling you what happened. Mum stood abruptly, chair scraping. Enough, she said, voice shaking with fury. Sit down. Apologize. Don't ruin Easter. Ruin Easter. That was always the fear. Not ruin me. Not hurt me. Ruin the day. Ruin the photo. Ruin the vibe. I swallowed hard. I'm not apologizing, I said. Mum looked like I'd slapped her. Excuse me, she hissed. Hannah leaned forward, eyes bright with anger and humiliation. You're doing this because you're jealous, she said, and her voice took on that nasty certainty she gets when she thinks she's landed the real reason. You're jealous I have friends. You're jealous I'm happy. You always come in with this cloud. The cruelty was familiar. The scapegoating was familiar. The part that hurt most was how easily she said it, like she'd been saving it. Liam finally spoke, voice low. Hannah, he said, warning. Hannah ignored him. You make everything uncomfortable, she said, and there was the line. The script. I felt my eyes sting. I blinked hard. I took one slow breath. Okay, I said. Hannah smirked. Okay, she repeated mockingly. Go on. Leave. Prove everyone right. I looked at Mum. Mum's face was tight, eyes sharp, like she was daring me to, and something in me just stopped begging. I am leaving, I said calmly, and you can tell yourselves whatever story you need to feel right. Dad stood, voice cold. If you walk out, don't come crying later. I nodded once. I won't, I said. Then I turned and walked toward the front door. My legs felt heavy, like wading through water, but I kept moving. I could hear Hannah's laugh behind me, the way she laughed when she thought she'd won. I could hear Mum's furious whisper, unbelievable. I could hear Dad mutter always. Outside, the air was cooler, quieter. The sunlight was harsh, too bright after the warm indoor lights. My hands were trembling so hard I fumbled my keys. When I finally got into my car, the silence hit like a wave. My throat tightened, and then the tears came, hot and unstoppable. I pressed my palm over my mouth to muffle the sound because even alone, I felt embarrassed by how much I was feeling. My phone buzzed before I even started the engine. Mum, you embarrassed me. Then, you could have just sat somewhere else. Then, why do you always have to do this? Hannah, drama queen. Hannah again. Don't bother coming to things if you're going to act like that. My hand shook on the steering wheel. My chest felt tight. I drove home on autopilot, wiping my face at red lights, trying to breathe. That evening, Liam came over. He didn't text first. He just showed up like he didn't trust me not to vanish. He stood awkwardly in my doorway, hands shoved in his pockets, face tense. I brought you food, he said, holding up a container of leftovers. I stared at him, surprised by the gesture. Thanks, I said, stepping aside. He came in, set the container on my counter, then turned and looked at me like he didn't know where to start. His eyes were tired. Hannah's losing it, he said finally. I laughed, small and bitter. Of course she is. Liam rubbed his face. Mum's saying you ruined Easter, he said. Yeah, I said. That checks out. Liam's jaw clenched. He looked down at his shoes, then back at me. You didn't ruin it, he said quietly. I blinked at him. What? I asked, because I wasn't used to hearing that from him. He swallowed. You didn't ruin it, he repeated. It was messed up. Something in my chest cracked. Relief, grief, anger, everything. Why didn't you say anything there? I asked and my voice shook. Liam flinched. Because he started and stopped. He exhaled hard. Because it's easier to let Hannah run things than to deal with her when she's mad. I stared at him. So you let her run over me, I said softly. Liam looked pained. Yeah, he admitted. And I hate that I did. I sat on the edge of my couch because my legs suddenly felt weak. Liam sat opposite me, elbows on his knees, staring at his hands. The room was quiet except for the hum of my fridge. She's always done it, I said, more to myself than to him. And you all always? Let her, Liam finished, voice rough. I nodded. Tears pricked again. It makes me feel crazy, I admitted. Like maybe I'm imagining it. Like maybe I'm too sensitive. Liam shook his head hard. No, he said. You're not. You're the only one who actually says it out loud. That line landed heavy. Because it was true. Hannah doesn't just control the table seating. She controls the story. And everyone else participates because it's easier than challenging her. Liam sighed. Mom said you could have pulled up a chair, he said. I stared at him. Why should I have to pull up a chair at my own family table? I asked. Why is the expectation always that I adjust, I accommodate, I disappear, so nobody gets uncomfortable? Liam didn't have an answer. He just nodded slowly, eyes wet. I don't know what to do, I whispered. Liam looked up. Stop going, he said simply. The bluntness of it startled me. What? I asked. Stop going, he repeated. Stop showing up hoping they'll treat you differently when they haven't earned it. My throat tightened. But Mum will survive, Liam said, and there was a hard edge in his voice I'd never heard before. She'll be embarrassed. She'll complain. She'll blame you. But she'll survive. I stared at him, heart pounding. Will you? I asked quietly. Will you keep going and letting Hannah do this? Liam's face crumpled slightly. He looked away. I don't know, he admitted. And I believed him, because Liam's whole life has been choosing the path of least conflict. After he left, I ate leftovers alone on my kitchen counter, not hungry, but needing something grounding. The food tasted like nothing. My phone buzzed with more messages. Mom sending long paragraphs about family and disrespect. Hannah sending snide little comments. My aunt sending a vague, hope you're okay, that didn't mention the seat. I didn't reply. The next week, Mom called like nothing happened. That's another family skill. Act normal until you can accuse the other person of holding on to things. When I didn't answer, she left a voicemail that started soft and ended sharp. I don't know why you're doing this, she said. We're your family. We love you. But you have to meet us halfway. Meet us halfway. Halfway to where? Halfway to disappearing? 2 weeks later, Hannah invited everyone to her place for a redo Easter lunch because she loves controlling the narrative so much she tried to rewrite the day. She texted the family chat, let's all move on. No negativity. As if the negativity was my reaction, not her action. I didn't go. Mom called. Dad called. Hannah texted, you're proving my point. I didn't reply. The strangest thing happened in the silence. I started to feel lighter. Not instantly. Not magically. But like my nervous system stopped bracing for the next jab. My Sundays stopped feeling like trial days. I started making plans with people who didn't treat me like a problem to manage. I started noticing how much energy I'd spent preparing myself to be small. A month after Easter, Mom dropped off a bag of my childhood things. She didn't knock. She left it at my door like a passive-aggressive gift. Inside were old-school photos, a scarf I made in a craft class, a small stuffed rabbit. It felt like a message. Here's the version of you we liked. Quiet, childlike, easy to control. I sat on my floor with the bag open, holding the rabbit, and I cried. Not because of the rabbit, but because I could finally see the pattern so clearly it was almost ridiculous that I'd fought it for years. Hannah wasn't saving a seat for a friend. Hannah was sending a message. And my parents weren't keeping the peace. They were choosing the version of the family that looks good over the version that's fair. Liam called that night. Mom's really upset, he said. I closed my eyes. Is she upset that I didn't have a seat? I asked. Silence. That's what I thought, I said softly. Liam exhaled. I told her it was wrong, he said quietly. My heart skipped. You did? Yeah, he said, voice strained. She cried. Dad got angry. Hannah screamed at me. But I said it. I sat down on my couch, legs trembling. Thank you, I whispered. Liam swallowed. I should have said it there, he admitted. I'm sorry. I stared at the wall, feeling that familiar ache, but also something else, something like a tiny seed of change. I don't need you to fix them, I said. I just need you to stop pretending it didn't happen. Liam was quiet. Okay, he said. After we hung up, I realized I'd spent so long chasing my family's approval that I hadn't noticed how much they relied on my chasing. How much the dynamic depends on me coming back, apologizing, shrinking, making it easy for them. The moment I stopped, the machine didn't know what to do. It sputtered. It got louder. It tried guilt. It tried anger. It tried pretending nothing happened. But it couldn't force me into the kitchen behind the table anymore, because I wasn't there. And that's what Easter lunch did in the end. It wasn't just a seat. It was a line. It was the moment I realized that I can't beg my way into belonging. I can't earn basic respect by bringing potatoes. I can't win against a story they've been telling about me for years. All I can do is step out of the story. I still love my family, which is the most annoying part. Love doesn't turn off just because someone treats you badly. Love lingers in stupid places, like the smell of Mom's kitchen, like the sound of Dad laughing, like the way Liam looked guilty when he finally admitted it was wrong. But love isn't the same thing as access. Loving them doesn't mean I have to stand behind. So this year, for the first time, I'm making my own Easter plan. Something small, something peaceful, a table where there's a chair for me because I'm not an afterthought. And if my sister wants to save seats for her friends, she can do it at her own table without me hovering in the shadows, pretending it's normal.